Hi, everybody, and welcome to another action-packed podcast of Monster Party. Woo! Yeah!
Dun, dun, dun.
I am Matt Weinhold, and I am accompanied by my ghoulish friends,
Larry STROTHE,
SHAWN SHERIDAN,
James GONIS.
Ooh, scary monsters. Interesting that we should say scary monsters when really the theme of this show is
dun, 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 dun.
the worst monster.
Worst
Worst monsters
suck.
ever. Now, we know that there are some great monsters out there. There's a lot of great monsters. Who doesn't love the creature from the Black Lagoon?
Oh, my God.
yeah.
Right?
My favorite.
Great monster.
One of my
Can't go wrong.
favorites.
Right? The Frankenstein monster in
Oh,
almost any
fantastic.
incarnation.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah. But there are some bad ones. And
Unfortunately.
yeah. And
As with everything.
as with everything, yes, there's good. Sometimes some rain may fall in Monsterland.
It does.
But
Maybe more often than we like.
Well, yeah, and over the history of monsters, there's been a few here.
Well,
and there.
you know how when you see a preview of something and the preview is so cool and you're all, oh, I can't wait for that movie.
Yeah.
The monster's going to be cool. And then
Princess Diaries.
Yes, exactly. and then when you see the monster, it's like, you're so
Big letdown.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was great about, we all have this common thread of we grew up watching monster movies on television, and a lot of them were made in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and there were a lot of them, let's be honest, that took forever to get to the monster, and there was a reason for that. Because when it finally showed up, I would, right off the bat, I think this might have to be the worst monster of all time.
Okay.
The film is The Creeping Unknown. Know of it, my friends?
Notorious.
Yeah.
Notorious movie.
Yeah.
First of all,
Not the movie Notorious. I meant that Creeping Unknown was notorious.
So
Yeah.
explain.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Explain the monster here for this.
well,
Or-
the monster. First of all, I just want to tell you that aside from the monster being horrible, this was a plagued production. Apparently, at one point they lost the soundtrack. True story. They lost the soundtrack.
I don't think
for
I
better
knew
or
that.
worse.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they lost it.
Because it's like narrated most of the movie, right?
Well, that's what happened. See, they lost the soundtrack, and so instead of recording it again or trying to dub it, they had a narrator come on.
I thought that was deliberate. I thought that was a
No.
deliberate.
Who was not
that?
a creative
Who would do
decision?
that deliberately?
I swear to God, I thought that was deliberate. I went,
No.
well, okay, it's a choice, you know.
No, it was a choice of necessity. Yeah, because there's these great scenes of they're two people sitting on a couch and you hear the narrator, Bill is upset because Susan didn't make coffee when Ed came over.
Yeah,
The dog has to go out and no one will take him.
it's very surreal. It really
It's
is
very
watching that
surreal.
movie.
But then now, aside from all that, the monster, when it finally shows up, it's from an alien spaceship. And when this thing, you finally see it, the best I can describe it, and Sean or any of you guys chime in if I'm off base here, but I would describe it as, imagine someone wearing a sleeping bag that has yarn glued to it, walking around menacingly. Yeah.
But it had kind of like a very phallic neck and head, too, at the front
I
of it.
think you're
It was
just saying
very-
that. I don't think that has anything to do.
He's been wanting to say
Pretty sure I
phallic
remember
for the
that
past
way.
several
That's
shows.
a different creeping unknown.
Yeah.
That was the vivid
But
creeping
the way
unknown.
the monster ate the women was very strangely erotic in a way.
Wow.
At least that's how I remember it.
You wanna talk about what's happening at home?
Was that the thing with
It
the
was like,
go ahead,
it
go
was
ahead.
like, it was like a carpet monster, and it kind of like attacked the woman. And she was like in a bathing suit, and it,
Yeah.
kind of like, it took forever to kind of like swallow her down.
Yeah.
And she was like struggling, and it was erotic.
But
Remember-
was it? I forget. Is that the one where they don't eat the shoes? I'm trying to remember if they
I
didn't
think
eat
you
the
see her.
shoes.
I think you see her
Wiggle the
like
shoes? Is
her
that
like
what it is?
feet sticking out, kind of wiggling. I can't remember.
I don't know if that's the shoe
don't know.
one, but
No, okay.
that sounds
I don't know.
familiar though. That's
This is a weird
That was a
dream of a movie.
pretty, that was a bad monster.
That
It was
is
a really
it's so
bad
horrible.
monster.
And there's also again, you talked about how slow it was. There's a great scene where there's this fat hillbilly who I guess they had to, for this thing to actually catch anyone, they had to find the most feeble people.
Right.
Like this poor fat hillbilly who like keeps falling over his fishing furniture. And it's just terrible. And then also just for some sound things too. I love it when the monster finally attacks this, I guess it's a nightclub or something.
Right.
And so there's like this 3-piece band playing, but then when you hear the music and the soundtrack, it's like 7-piece, 9. Like, wow, where's the tuba? He must be off to the side.
Oh my gosh!
But that's a bad one.
I don't remember that.
It's legendary.
The monster, that is, that was a really bad monster.
It really was
horrible.
But something that I was sold a bill of goods. There's this film, a 70s film, Night of the Lepus. And the preview. If you guys go and
preview's scary, right?
I'll tell you, if you type in Night of the Lepus on YouTube, go check it out. And the preview is actually pretty scary.
Yes, it is.
It's like Night of the Lepus. And it has all these people, and these people are panicking, and
you see eyes
dark,
and
close up of an eye,
and it's horrifying.
And as a little kid, you didn't know what lepus means. So you think, is it demons
adult,
or
you don't know what
it's
lepus
Satan?
means.
What is it?
So
it's a cross between a leopard and lupus
and an octopus.
And so I hope I'm not spoil alert if you don't want to know.
Yeah, if you're watching this show, you should.
I think you need to know.
Okay, just to save you $5 or whatever it is, guys. The lepus, it's a bunch of little bunny rabbits. I say bunny rabbits. It's bunnies.
Big
bunnies.
Fluffy, giant bunnies.
There's a shot. I think if you do IMDb or something like that, you look it up. Night of the Lepus. There's a picture of like this living room, and it's got all these little bunnies sitting in it. But it's like they look like gigantic. They're gigantic bunnies in like a miniature set.
Well, there's this whole sort of subgenre of movies, horror movies or sci-fi movies that are made with close-ups of actual animals and insects made to look like monsters.
Well, okay, and look, there are some of those that, but see, you go into the film, whether it's like Food of the Gods, it's like, okay, you expect to see big rats.
Which is actually a great little movie.
James, Night of the Lepus. I have no idea what the Lepus is.
Right.
And so, like you said, I expected it to be this big thing with claws.
And they're counting on that for audience.
And I had no freaking clue. So to me, the worst monster, one of my worst monsters, it's as cute as it is, was a bunny rabbit.
Well,
the Lepus.
Maybe Lepus is Latin for bunnies.
The fact that you said the as cute it is as it is.
Yeah.
There's no cute monster that's scary.
No,
it's a bunny. It's a rabbit.
And it's like, why don't we mess up the rabbit a little bit? Why don't we dip it in black paint?
They do close-ups of the mouths with like little fake blood on it.
And it's
but best
the
of
rabbit
all,
and Monty Python and the Holy Grail is more frightening.
You know what? I would agree with that. That rabbit where you see it in Monty Python, the Holy Grail,
terrifying.
Jump and get by the neck. More horrifying than the bunnies.
This is a special episode on
Night
rabbits
of the Lepus.
And then those rabbits in that movie too. I never really understood like how they were menacing. Like I guess they would just
you know what, Matt?
It's
just
adorable
stupid.
you to death.
But another funny thing about that movie is that when they did the attacks, there were fleeting shots of like you actually had a guy in a rabbit suit like pawing at the actors. And it's hilarious. It's like a guy in a furry outfit.
Look, I know no one goes out of the way to make a bad horror film, and I can see the direct. No. I totally.
But that movie is done very earnestly.
Yes,
the cast. You should mention the cast too.
Yeah, the cast.
Stuart Whitman.
They
DeForest Kelly,
horrifying.
Yeah, it's done very straight.
And these people, this was not like camp. They're going to like play it up.
No, it was done completely straight.
It's one of these things. I think an example of where the actors are, they don't know what the end product is going to look like, and so they're going to go at it 100%. Give it their all. And when the monster comes, they're disappointed.
Yeah, Janet Leigh went from Psycho to Night of the Lepus.
Night of the Lepus. God love her.
Speaking of not knowing...
The play is much better. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
Another example, kind of speaking of like, actors kind of playing straight against something that, they're not going to see until the film's done. I think probably a close second and worst, goofiest monster to Creeping Unknown would be the giant claw.
Oh,
the giant claw was 1957. Sam Katzman produced.
Of course,
a great. It's basically a giant turkey, buzzard, cuckoo bird marionette.
Yes,
that flies. That is made of antimatter, and that projects an antimatter shield, and it flies around attacking the city. and it has this. It's literally like a Muppet.
Yeah.
And with this like
Paper-mache.
silly squawking, and it's unbelievable. And I had read. I mean, supposedly I had read that like Jeff Morrow is in it.
who I love.
The Silent Earth.
Who doesn't love Jeff Morrow?
My God. Supposedly, like there was a story where he, at the screening of the finished film, he was just mortified when he like slunk down in his seat and snuck out because when he saw on the screen this monster, which is literally the goofiest thing you've ever seen. And again, everybody in the movie plays it very straight.
Yeah.
It's like, in a weird way, actually, the movie itself, if it really was a scary and cool monster, it probably would have been a great movie because it was your kind of classic giant monster 50s film, but the monster's so ridiculous.
I totally forgot about that.
It's like the emu in the Hudson Brothers show, Rod Hall as emu. But you know what though? There's something about that movie when even as a kid, and I finally saw that thing. Like, I was so amused by it. That is one that I would watch again and again.
I've seen it many times. Yeah, I would say that even though I say this, it is the goofiest monster, but as a film, it's actually quite entertaining.
It is
like
very entertaining.
The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman or Amazing Colossal Man, where the hand comes down and it's so obviously fake and low budget.
The Cyclops.
But it's funny now.
Yeah, but the claw was pretty bad, though. I mean,
Can't value
so
today,
bad.
but bad. Yeah,
Worth
no
seeing,
question.
Though. Yeah, that's pretty.
So
that's
put
pretty
that on your list if you want to see one of the worst monsters, the giant claw.
Available on DVD.
All right, James, you're up.
This could be a little controversial.
Oh no!
Oh, bring it on.
One of the worst monsters I think to ever become a major movie monster is the Mummy.
I would agree.
The Mummy is pretty.
Which incarnation of the Mummy?
No way.
Doesn't matter. Almost doesn't matter. The very first one with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
Really wasn't a traditional Mummy movie. He wasn't, aside from the very first scene, which is a classic and very scary.
Sure.
The rest of the movie after that, where he's going after the reincarnated princess.
All the sequels, Mummy's Curse, Mummy's Hand, Mummy's Tomb.
Those are, when you've got a monster that walks that slowly and you can get away from it, with a stroll, then you've got a problem.
Okay. It's not like slow zombies where there's like hundreds of them.
Let me just say one thing there real quick. I'm sure you'll probably agree with me, Larry.
Okay.
I agree that there is something about the shambling, slow-moving mummy, but I guess as a little kid, when I watched those old Universal sequels, there's something about the inevitability that even though he's this slow, shambling kind of zombie, he's still going to get you.
And you know why? He will not stop.
Like the second...
He will never, ever stop, James.
I understand what you mean, but it's more like predictability than inevitability.
Sure.
I mean, it's a monster movie. You're watching it. He's going to get the victim.
But there's a quaintness and a kind of like a comfortable kind of aspect of those sequels.
Yeah.
And in fact, the whole thing about he's going to get you no matter what is even supported more by the fact I think it's the third film. Mummy's Hand was the first sequel. I think it was the Mummy's Curse.
Mummy's Foot.
Mummy's Foot. But I think it was Mummy's Curse where the two stars of the Mummy's Hand are killed in the sequel. Like the guys who survive the Mummy's Hand film, the mummy ends up getting them. Or one of the guys, I guess he gets.
But maybe they just died maybe they died like that was in their contract. You must kill us because we will not be in another Mummy movie.
I have a lot of affection for the sequels, and
me too.
I appreciate the variations, and I can sit through them over and over. George Zucco,
all the Tanneleaves. I mean, that's
stuff.
like classic Universal.
It is, and I love it, but it's still a pretty lame monster.
It's not like the Wolfman, right? When you can kind of go
right.
And I don't know. I have to disagree with you because I understand where you're going with the mummy but like Sean said, this creature that will constantly be moving and will keep coming after you regardless. And also the mummy still looks pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't look like he doesn't look like the giant claw. It doesn't look like the bunny rabbit in Night of Lepus, or even the sleeping bag. No.
It's a cool looking monster,
and he's a cool looking. He's got like the eye that's kind of missing, and so to me, James, the worst monster. I mean, he may not be the most dynamic monster, like something like an alien, or from Aliens or something, but he's not like the bunny rabbit in Night of Lepus.
James, if you say that about the mummy...
It's a different type of bad.
Yeah. But hold on. You say that about the mummy, then what about your classic Universal Frankenstein character then. He's just about as fast as the Mummy.
I was going to bring that up because Matt
Are you?
mentioned it before.
Wait, you're going to say Frankenstein is one of the worst monsters?
Glenn Strange Frankenstein.
No, you
No,
said
no, no, no,
it. You
no,
said
no,
it.
no, 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 no. You're full of shit.
In the first
No,
few movies,
that's-
as portrayed by Boris Karloff,
Right.
it had character, it had
Yes.
energy,
Yeah.
and there was this whole, the whole Mary Shelley myth, the existential, angry at being reanimated. After the first few sequels, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula,
Last few.
right. He starts to just become this lumbering giant.
Yeah, he's the Mummy.
Sure,
Yeah.
but
He becomes
that's,
the Mummy.
That's part of the inevitability of these sequels, though. I mean, it's like they become kind of stock. It becomes like a
programmer.
monster party.
But
kind
it's like
of
Frankenstein. But Frankenstein monster, he has this history, though. I mean,
Right.
from the first movie to Bride, from Son, and Curse. I mean, things happen to him, so he's not like the original one from 1931.
No, he's not.
changed. He's changed.
Well, they didn't really give him enough to
for
do
the
in
worst.
When I
those
think
last
of
few
worst,
sequels.
James, when I think of worst monster, I mean, Frankenstein still looks pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
What I mean, if you want a bad looking monster, whether it's from the giant claw or Attack of the Mushroom People with the guys, these big mushroom
I
creatures.
disagree with you there.
No.
You just
It's
lost
like
me big
the
time.
Frankenstein monster is classic, and I bought the story as he's going down all the way through all the other films. And I maybe we're jumping the gun here because you didn't say Frankenstein. You said you were
I
going to
just
go,
brought
but
that
you're
up
going back to
Well,
the Mummy.
I would have brought Frankenstein.
I had it on my list. I had the Bela Lugosi Frankenstein on my list.
right.
Terrible
As
It's
Frankenstein.
not the most
Worst monster?
formidable Frankenstein.
Yeah,
right.
horrible.
Because it also came out of Igor, and the
Who's a
brain
great character, by the way.
transplants.
Yeah, his interpretation of Igor is great.
Right.
Yeah. But wait, whoa. Let's go back to what did you just say about the mushroom people?
Matango, the
Matango.
original title, is a very atmospheric.
Are you literally
creepy little movie.
actually saying that the mushroom people are a bad monster?
Yes.
That's absurd.
No.
son.
They're so creepy.
No.
All hanging out on the island, and then
Yeah,
like there's
I thought it was stupid.
they're all
I
hanging
just
around
thought,
the little
yeah.
girl and the little
Yeah.
girl's
Yeah.
eating salmon.
I
Why don't you
thought
try
it's
some?
It's losing your identity. You're becoming part of the landscape, and you're losing all of your identity. It's like a creepy.
people.
It's a creepy
Never
movie.
thought that was going to come out of.
Granted,
Yeah.
Strode.
Who would have known?
Did you,
Who would have
see
known?
the dubbed version? It was called Attack of the Mushroom People. Did you see
Yeah.
the original Japanese?
yeah, the original
No.
Japanese version is
Yeah.
much better. Yeah,
Oh,
Matango.
okay, guys. Oh,
it's like
no,
the
I'm
Godzilla
sorry. I
with-
haven't seen. Not like you experts.
I don't
have
think I
seen
like
the
your tone.
Japanese version. No, most people in America see the dubbed version,
Probably, yeah.
and that's what I've seen.
But just
And
as-
so,
And-
wait a minute. So
and that
now
monster- that
we're
monster-
most people.
Yeah,
We're not monster
No,
aficionados.
you're-
We're
no.
now most people.
yeah.
well,
Most people.
Look, I think that anybody who's about to watch a movie called Attack of the Mushroom People is already predisposed to expect a pretty bad monster.
Right. It's kind of like an infamous title throughout the years. As
Yeah.
being a silly movie.
All
Actually,
right.
but it's a pretty effective movie. I think.
I think it's
like
great.
it.
I love it.
Well, I disagree.
I like to throw another one out there, which is from the 50s. It's kind of a notorious little B movie called Frankenstein's Daughter. Frankenstein's kind of John Ashley star. It's a cheap little, Frankenstein, kind of like a little bit like I Was a Teenage Frankenstein in some ways. It's modern day 50s. The descendant of Frankenstein making bodies and experimenting. But what's great is the monster is supposed to be a female, and the story was that the makeup artist who created the monster did not know that he was making a female monster. So it's the most mannish, burly looking guy.
It has an Adam's apple.
Yeah, as if the filmmakers purposely set out to make the most male-like monster ever, and then call it a she, and he just basically slapped lipstick on it, and it's great. It's like this. It looks like a wrestler in a shiny jumpsuit with a bandage wrapped around his head. But they keep calling it she. She's angry. She's going to destroy you. It's hilarious. That's a great
It's like
one.
Abe Vigoda in Barney Miller when he's
Yeah.
in drag.
You know what?
Yeah,
Sean,
totally.
I haven't seen that one. I've seen a poster of it, and the poster looks
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny monster as it is, but knowing that it's supposed to be female is hilarious. So
But
that's a good one.
But one monster that I think everyone has seen because it's like the epitome of a bad B movie from the 50s is robot monster.
Oh yes,
With the guy in the
Classic.
gorilla outfit.
Yeah, that's a
That
classic.
to me
Literally
is like a worse
the most-
monster. And
yeah.
and it's funny because
lazy.
sometimes
Yeah.
I talk to people about, we talk about, the campiness of Robot Monster. Really, have you really sat through it and watched it from beginning to end? Really?
But you should describe.
life is too
We'll just
short.
describe the monster, right? It's a gorilla suit.
It's
body.
a guy in a gorilla suit body, and he's wearing a astronaut space helmet.
Yeah, it's like a diving helmet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with some antenna on it.
and that's
Yeah.
it. And he's
That's
called
it.
That's it.
Roman.
Roman.
Right?
Roman.
and
Robot man.
his diabolical device of destruction is a bubble machine. I am not kidding.
Amazing.
A bubble machine.
I forgot
How does
about
that work exactly?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. All the kids from the neighborhood were attracted by it, and then he'd
Yeah.
lure them into a cave.
But
and-
see, Robot Monster
Yes.
is an example of a worse monster. I mean, if you're going to put all the monsters up, on some table,
pantheon of
exactly.
bad
I mean,
monsters.
Mummy. A mummy's not going to be down at the bottom with Robot Monster.
Like there have been
different
better,
type of bad.
better
Yeah.
variations of the Mummy. The Hammer one was pretty good.
That's
Yeah.
maybe one of my
Really?
favorites.
Yeah.
Maybe my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
mummies.
And then Mummy was kind of redone.
Right.
Yeah,
that was entertaining enough.
in the
Yeah.
2000s.
Less-
Oh,
less
you
said about the better.
guys,
Yeah.
I just don't consider those horror films. Those are
No.
action fantasy.
but you know what? They're still
adventure
fun, and
movies.
there's a lot of scary mummy stuff in it, and the mummies.
CGI.
Oh my
Indiana Jones
God!
movie.
All
Yeah.
right,
You know what? The Mummy ride at Universal Studios is scarier.
Yeah, really.
Especially if you're motion sick.
But yeah, you're right. It's more in
And you're afraid of
in
mummies.
concept as opposed to execution.
Well,
like
I'm sorry.
yeah, like the concept of the mummy as opposed to the execution of like a bad, unrealistic looking monster suit.
Yeah.
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a difference.
aesthetically,
I mean,
I like the Mummy.
Yeah.
If you're looking at a monster that you want it to like horrify you, terrify you. I mean, when you look at it, it's a sleeping bag with yarn over. I mean, that's
Well, here's one from an A picture,
Okay.
even arguably a masterpiece.
Ooh.
That I think is one of the lamest
Game changer.
concepts for a monster ever.
okay.
God.
The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Now, I love the movie. I agree that it's a masterpiece. I cannot get scared by the seagulls and the crows and the parakeets and whatever the hell they threw at Tippi Hedren. I've been close to big birds like flamingos, and I can, they can be intimidating, pelicans, but even en masse, the way that they were used by Hitchcock, I'm just sort of watching it. I appreciate the art of Hitchcock and everything that he put in the movie. I was never
Interesting.
really scared.
Can I say something about that? Which is that I think that movie suffers from being a creation of its time. It's the special effects, the trying to through the cinematic devices of its time,
Right.
put those birds into things.
Right.
That's where it would lose me when I go. That's obviously
Right.
a effect shot or an effect shot. Excuse me.
Were audiences back then that frightened by it? I don't
Well,
know.
I think there are
See,
some
there-
very. I think there are some very creepy, scary moments of that film.
Their
Which
set
is,
pieces are
yeah,
well
like
done.
all the
Yeah.
birds when they're walking out of the school, and all the birds are on like the monkey bars
Yeah.
and everything.
When
and
she's in the phone booth,
Yeah.
when she's stuck in the phone booth.
that's like very creepy. Also, when they come into the room and all the birds have like basically just, I guess, torn away this person's face. All that stuff I think is very effective. It's when the effect shot comes in.
Now,
So in other words, when the monsters themselves are revealed, then it loses it.
What
But
about the
everything
original
around the
story?
Well,
what about the original story?
I
Never
did,
read it.
Did,
Yeah,
now
neither have I. I
you
was
say that
curious.
it's considered a masterpiece.
yeah, I
Really?
think so. Well,
you know what's it's funny, James. I don't know if the Birds is real to me a Hitchcock masterpiece, because I'm wondering kind of what Matt said about something about the times. There's a lot of stuff that went into the making of that film.
It's ambitious.
I think he had done Psycho, and everyone's like, "Ooh, what's your
Right.
next
What's the
big
big follow-up?"
Exactly,
Yeah.
and this was his thing. There was a short story that he wanted to like base it on or whatever. And I remember seeing The Birds for the first time and actually being really disappointed. Yes, I thought that scene with the kids by the school was cool. There was and when Tippi Hedren, why do you go up to that attic? There's always a big question, because
Well,
Alfred
yeah.
Hitchcock says, because I want you to. It's like when you see the guy up there and he's got the eyes put down. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. And her at the gas station with the birds, it's creepy. But a masterpiece?
I kind of agree.
It's not my favorite. It's certainly not my favorite.
And don't get me started on the TV movie sequel, Birds 2, Land's End. Okay, just don't get me started.
You know,
on
that was where I was going to go next, Sean.
If you bring up Birdemic,
right.
the show's over.
They're,
But yeah, I think that's interesting. But
NATO
I kind of
next.
agree.
You know that?
I kind of agree with you there. Yeah.
Well, some of the nature run amok stuff where they're using actual creatures, like some of the bug movies,
right. It's more amusing than
Frogs.
It is. Yeah.
Frogs. Yeah.
But
I mean, how
frogs is
scary
funny,
is
though.
frogs? How scary are frogs?
You know
Come
what?
on.
Frogs. The scariest part of Frogs is the poster.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is a great poster.
Why didn't they make that movie with
Yeah,
a giant,
exactly.
giant frog swallowing a whole man?
Poster, giant frog with a hand coming out of its mouth.
Yeah.
That is the movie I wanted to see.
Today the pond, tomorrow the world. I think was it right? Yeah.
Remember
you're right.
Squirm? Was it Squirm with all the
Squirm was
worms?
pretty good, though.
Squirm
The worms.
Squirm was pretty
Yeah.
It's just
effective.
worms.
Yeah, but
And they would roar, too.
yeah. But Squirm is
Loud
pretty effective,
worms.
though, I have to admit. That's
All
a
right,
pretty,
so going back
pretty
to
good
James,
one.
though. So, worst monster, these birds. Would you say the birds? Or
The birds from the birds.
birds from the birds.
Yeah, but again, it's because it is a great movie. It might not be his masterpiece, but it's a semantic argument. Some have called it
Right,
a
right.
masterpiece and can argue the point.
What about Ants?
Well, it's them.
No,
right?
I'm serious. The TV movie called Ants. It's about ants that terrorize Robert Foxworth and Susan
I don't remember
Summers.
that.
Do you remember that?
either.
No,
oh my
I
God.
They were at
I
a
don't.
picnic.
What's
Are they
wrong
big
with you
ants?
people?
The giant spider
What?
invasion.
Are they
I
big
remember
ants?
this.
No, they're just regular ants. They terrorize.
wait a
It's
minute.
good.
Larry Strove
Yeah.
just introduced one of the classics of the bad monster
But,
genre.
no. Really?
The giant spider invasion.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know
that's
what?
a
Okay.
good, that's a fun one.
But
yeah.
that's kind of fun.
But-
But let's be honest
No,
here.
yeah, you're right.
If you paint
Yeah.
a Volkswagen
yes.
black
No.
and
yes.
attach some arms to it
and some furry. Yes.
Yeah.
and then drive them into people,
You know what?
Yeah.
You do.
I
have
don't
a-
think that
you have a point.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
have a point.
That's-
I do remember
You're right. And also there's actually other like medium-sized spiders throughout
Yeah.
the movie. In the beginning, they're also just as goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I really don't think a spider should have an automatic clutch.
But you know what? I appreciated the ingenuity that they did in making it. I've said, 'cause, Matt, when I saw that, I thought, because I was too young to drive at the time, but I remember thinking, I want to get a Volkswagen Bug, and I want to make mine into a
yeah,
giant
where was that
spider.
one? If they have a bug, they should have a spider.
But it's like, but when I saw that film, I thought, yeah, I can get a Volkswagen Bug and make it into a spider. But I didn't
Just for
look
the
at
ladies alone.
But Matt, I didn't look at Night of the Lepus and say, oh, I want to
Right.
get a little bunny rabbit. I mean, it's
Spiders have sort of had a bad rap. I mean, Tarantula was great.
I love Tarantula.
Tarantulas-
Kingdom of the Spiders actually is effective.
That's
Except
right,
for
that's
I
right.
feel sorry for the spiders a lot in that movie.
Yeah, they actually squash real spiders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
which
don't.
I'm vehemently opposed to.
Yeah, I didn't care for that part.
But
you
it's
could
a great
squash
movie.
a
What if it's a,
Volkswagen
what if it's a
as much as
black
you want.
widow and it's
No,
crawling?
I have
on
no
your
problem with spiders. But that's a good, well-made movie though.
Hey, by the way, do you,
You have a
Larry
spider on your back. by the
Larry-
way. You know that? Can I slap it off to you? Oh!
Larry had a birthday party for his daughter where there was this guy that came and he had all these different exotic animals.
Mr. Valentine.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it was really cool.
Yes.
And
To hold a tarantula in your hand.
That's right.
Yes.
And the great thing about this guy is he was showing how we are brought up to fear some of these reptiles and other creatures and stuff. And he was showing them that we don't need to be afraid of them. So if your point is don't squish a spider, great.
Yeah, that's right.
But does the Volkswagen
But wait a minute, no,
need
wait,
to go
wait.
into worst monster?
No, wait a minute. Hold on
What?
now. But we have to finish the story, which is the fact that this guy had a black widow. And this black widow was like
I know where you're
shooting
going.
black widow eggs everywhere. He's
No,
like,
he was-
they're
he was
fine."
pulling them out.
He's pulling them out. Look, kids, it's fun. and like planting all these black widows all over Larry's lawn. And that is the horror movie that I wanted to make.
So everyone wants to know, so what did Larry do? Larry and his wife called the exterminator.
Oh wow.
So, Sean, we did not stomp any, but
Right,
they were
good.
like gassed. Okay.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
hopefully
they were euthanized.
Yeah.
Yes. So hopefully that makes you feel better.
The
Wow.
Kevorkian of spiders came in and took care of it.
You know, it's funny that I would say that this is not any specific movie, but like the nature run amok movies of the 70s, especially. There's a lot of great ones like Day of the Animals
Yeah,
and
that's
Grizzly. All those are really fun movies, but even as a kid, like I can never get over that it's a trained animal, and you see the person kind of wrestling with like it's never, it's not like a mechanical effect or nowadays CGI, but like you always kind of know like it's not really.
You can't hide the fear in the eyes of that animal.
Yeah, exactly.
Trained to love
And
people.
Grizzly, I mean, the tagline was 18 feet of gut-crunching, man-eating terror. The thing is bear-hugging Andrew Prine at the end.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
8 feet on a good day.
Yeah, right.
Well, and also tearing the arm off a baby. For that alone in that movie.
Yeah, or a kid or something.
Do you
yeah.
remember the film Prophecy? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
Prophecy?
Yeah, mutated
That was a
bear.
But see, that's better because that's an actual creature effect.
Yeah.
And that was actually kind of a cool monster, to be honest.
I mean, our theme is worst monster. I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
Stay on theme.
All right, can I-
No. Because I don't want it. Because I actually thought the Prophecy thing was actually kind of cool.
No, I agree.
Can I jump back in with this?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so let's get to gorillas. Now,
wow, okay.
Now, I don't know what the problem is with Japan, but apparently they've never seen a real gorilla because they can't replicate a gorilla.
Yeah,
Case in point, the movie King Kong Escapes. Now, that gorilla looks like it was made with like paper mache.
Looks like a Sid and Marty Croft gorilla.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the nice gorilla that you make out of like you wet some like wheat checks and make it into a pulp and then create a.
Does his arms change length in the movie?
I'm sure they do.
I thought. See, the thing is look, it's still a neat movie because it's a large monster movie.
That's what's ironic is that the Toho film. I would even say King Kong versus Godzilla. The King Kong is not the greatest King Kong.
No,
it's Toho. They're Godzilla monsters, and even in King Kong Escapes has great Gorosaurus, which is a great dinosaur costume.
Yeah, I love that
Of course,
one.
the fantastic Mecha Kong.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the Toho films are all fans of, but you're right when it comes to apes. Even like in like the Terror of the Mecha Godzilla films where they have the ape aliens, terrible makeup.
Always terrible.
Time
It
of
was
the
like a-
apes.
Yes,
It's
Time
like
of the Apes.
everything.
Yes.
Yet they seem to be fascinated with apes, but they can't seem to be able to make convincing
I'm
looking apes.
convinced they've never seen an ape. Like it's like gorillas never came over to Japan.
Yeah, like they've never-
And they've
yeah.
only got like artist conceptual
Yeah,
drawings.
you're right, it's weird.
There's a couple gorillas that were in court somewhere. Someone did a painting of them, but like because they do paintings in court. Apparently.
It's like a through line. You're right. Of every I don't think I've ever
and like
seen it
we
convincing.
what just came out was Ultra Q. If you're going to get a
Oh my
DVD
gosh,
set.
yes.
Ultra Q, which
Great
is sort of
show, but,
the
yeah.
precursor to Ultraman,
Right.
and but it's more like Outer Limits X-File type of series. But yeah, there's a gorilla one, and you're like,
Monkey.
nope,
It's like no.
that's not a gorilla.
You know, not to get off the gorillas, but talking about Toho stuff, there was a monster. I was mentioning this to you earlier. I love Ultraman stuff. I love seeing the Ultraman stuff, TV show and stuff. But there was one particular monster that Ultraman fought, and as a kid, when the monster showed up, I remember going, "Oh, really?
What was it?
It was all I can say is it was a bat creature." And what it was like two guys in the bat costume. One was the wing on one side, the other was the wing on the other side, and together their hands that came together made the little mouth move. And you could see and to me it was like, well, it's the two guys in the giant wing.
For those listening, you could just write in and tell us the name of this monster.
I was so pissed off. Matt,
I have a glow. I have one.
You are an Ultraman expert. Do you know?
No,
that
I can't remember the names
you know
of all
what
those things.
Matt, you know
I
what
gotta
I'm
know
talking-
important things.
You know what I'm
Every
talking
once in a
about,
while.
though,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
The bat creature for the fought Ultraman. I remember thinking, oh man, I was like so disappointed because I just love all those other monsters that Ultraman
Well,
fights.
there are a lot of Toho monsters that maybe it was because Tsuburaya died, but Megalon, Gigan.
Oh, I like Megalon.
I actually don't mind
like
those guys.
Gigan.
You don't
Gigan,
like
too.
those monsters?
Those are awesome monsters.
No, you think
Megalon is a great monster.
On Ghidra. You think on Mothra.
Gigan's one of my favorites.
Gigan and Megalon are awesome.
Gigan got some bad movies.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, but he's a great design.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gigan had some bad breaks.
Gigan, Megalon, even from the series that followed that, Destroya and Megaguirus in the last series.
Megaguirus, I can agree with you
I'm
there,
not
yeah.
but Destroyer's not bad.
But
I
James
don't think it's very imaginative. I think that it's almost like, we have to make an ugly, evil-looking monster. Let's give it fangs. Let's give it horns. It's almost like they gave a kid crayons and said, "Here, make something scary."
But at least they did something, James. They didn't take a little bunny rabbit and put it in a miniature set and go,
You and the
"There,
bunny rabbit."
There, go terrorize.
Believe me, again, I have a lot of you guys know I have a lot of affection for the Toho Monsters. I love them. I have the vinyls. I have the new vinyls. But I have to, I look at Gigan, I look at Megalon, and I think it's pretty stupid.
Okay, wait a minute. Back up here. If we're gonna get into Toho Monsters,
it's worst monsters.
okay,
so
well,
it's the gamut. It's everything.
Yeah.
okay, but Rodan. Is Rodan scary or cool? In it, it's a crappy pterodactyl.
He's not crappy.
Actually, the original
It's a pterodactyl.
the original design of Rodan, the first Rodan movie, I liked a lot. He became very goofy looking in all the other
did.
movies
'Cause they
for
started
whatever
using a
reason.
puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his face looked too friendly looking. I mean,
Do you have the toy? Does anyone have the Rodan toy?
yeah,
'Cause
the original Rodan vinyl
the big-
by Bondi
no,
is
no,
awesome.
The big
oh
Mattel
no,
one.
no.
Okay, I have that one. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
It is
Okay.
great, and
All
I
right.
love that face, and I love the wings. I'm a big fan of pterodactyls, even though he's not quite pterodactyl. He's pterodactyl-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, he doesn't look like the bunny rabbit in
I agree.
Night of the
Here-
Lepus.
here's-
Worst monster.
Here is where we're, I think, going to all agree. I hope, especially if your
I don't
views
know.
on the mushroom people. But okay,
Let's see.
Minya.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Minya, come on, Minya.
But purposely goofy though, purposely silly,
everybody-
benign looking.
Minya is the son of Godzilla.
Yes.
And if you look at Minya, apparently there was no DNA test.
He's
really.
very small. He's very small for a monster.
He looks like a little.
And he's a
He
baby.
looks like-
he's a baby.
No, come
Matt, he's a
on.
baby.
He's a troll.
He looks
kind
like
of.
he looks like they crossed a dinosaur with Spanky McFarlane and then punched him in the face repeatedly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go.
Yeah, I
no,
agree.
I'm not going to say he's one of the worst monsters. He's actually he's
He's endearing.
he
but
is
he's
endearing.
weird.
And
Is he
and
really?
yes.
Why is he endearing?
You remember his little
Come on, didn't you feel bad for him at the end when he's walking in the snow and he keeps falling down?
Yes.
And come on,
Yes.
you feel bad for
and when,
him.
And
That
he
scene is
blows
very
the
well
little
done.
smoke ring.
I rooted for
It
the
brought-
praying mantises.
It brought
instead
a
of Godzilla.
tear. It brought a tear to my eye.
And he really helped out
And
in
I
Destroy All
love that
Monsters.
monster.
He really
Yes,
helped
he
out
did.
by blowing the last smoke
It
ring
was a
over
little
Ghidra's
far-fetched that a
neck.
smoke ring would strangle the three-headed monster.
You know what? The three-headed monster was pretty beat up at that time. He just needed that one last little thing to take it over the edge.
Smoke?
But
They
again,
threw that in for the kids.
I look at Minya-san and I go, you know what? At least, you've got the little monster face and you've got the little monster body and the little spine and stuff, and you're not a fuzzy little rabbit from Night of the
Will
Lepus.
you get off the
I'm sorry.
Lepus?
I'm just.
And he wasn't wrapped in bandages like a mummy.
You know,
He should have been across his face.
if the son of Godzilla was a rabbit, I argue that might have been better than Minya.
That's the first time anybody said that ever in the history of
I
mankind.
think so. I
Minya
think
was
so.
a rabbit.
No,
Here's
no.
The backstory, I think, of Son of Godzilla is that Godzilla had a little strange, one night. All of a sudden, she shows up with Minya. Hey, this is your son, and then takes off.
So who is the true father of Minya then? Gabra?
Yes.
I think
See the
so.
resemblance.
Wow.
Isn't
And
this
that's
another
the
show?
hostility.
Yeah,
That's
this
why
is
there's the
Oedipus
hostility.
This is a
complex.
different
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
Minya, I
This
am
is a
your
different
father.
show. The offspring and the mates of some of these monsters. I think that's
All right.
we should.
Do we
save
have
it for
any
another
other
show.
examples of your classic worst
Worst
monsters?
monster.
Anybody else have one?
Yeah, you guys might disagree with this.
Psycho?
Oh yeah,
No, okay, what?
Predator.
Really?
Are you
I am
serious?
not a fan of Predator.
Are you
I
kidding
think
me?
The movies or the wait,
monster-
the
What are
movies
you-
or the
what are
design
you
of the monsters?
drinking?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Really?
I
Predators
can't
are pretty
believe
cool.
you.
You are dead to me.
I'm not saying the movies are all great,
okay.
but like the concept
I
of
don't
the
mean-
monster is pretty cool.
No,
Convert me.
let's
What
hear him.
is
No,
what is so cool
no.
about-
He's a badass hunter who goes
Don't.
across the universe hunting all species of creatures and killing them. And
I want you to tell
Okay,
me
well,
why
that's
he's
cool.
your
I want to
worst.
know what's bad.
Yeah, what?
That's the-
Tell me.
I don't think
Prove your
I don't
case.
Tell
think
me.
it's particularly interesting. I don't think the design is interesting. I mean, the backstory's cool, but that's a backstory. No, there's just not much to it. I saw the first one. I fell asleep halfway through. I saw the sequel. I just didn't give a shit.
Well, the sequel we can
actually, the sequel's
argue.
not too bad, but like, I mean, no, it's not great. But the first one is just a very simple action film. I mean, it's not supposed to be anything more, but on that level, I think it works pretty good.
But if
it's
it
by
wasn't-
no
if-
means the
I think
greatest.
it's a
movie.
cool
If it wasn't
monster.
a
Yeah,
Stan
yeah.
Winston monster that was chasing Schwarzenegger, but it was another bodybuilding actor, it would have been the same movie. I just didn't see a lot of great reasons for it to be a monster, to be a fantastic.
Interesting.
I thought
the camouflage.
I thought it was so
Invisibility.
cool.
Yeah.
and the other thing is worst monster. What is your definition of the worst monster? When I
Why
think
is
of worst
it a bad
monster,
no?
when I think of worst monster, it's like when you're promised something that's supposed to be cool, and what you end up with is the sleeping bag with yarn over it, or you get the marionette bird, or you get the little bunny rabbit in the miniature set. I mean, Predator, to me, that is a really gorgeous, articulated mask and costume, and it's so cool. The fangs and stuff, really.
Look, I guess the same way that the first Alien introduced that creature, I loved that first Alien movie. And for the first Predator movie, and the way that creature was set up, I didn't really think much of the movie itself. And so,
I can see you not liking the movie, right?
The script of that movie, it's very basic. It's a basic sort of action movie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle.
It was fun.
But it's fun, and by adding that creature, the creature is cool. I mean, I guess it's a matter of taste, but I think that the armor on the thing is great, and then when you get that extra reveal where you actually see this creature that has these sort of fangs that open out into this
crab
weird,
face.
like a strange crab face that opens up. That I think was that had a lot of ingenuity in it.
Well, actually, what do you think is worse? Do you think maybe the monster from Predator or the dog-like creatures from Killer Shrews? I mean,
that was another one of my choices, actually.
That's pretty bad. Yeah. Put a Halloween mask on a dog.
Yeah, and cover it with some fur.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking is a worst monster.
Yeah. I guess, like I said, it's conceptualized monster of what this monster is and what it does. Actually, I thought too the Predator movies got more interesting in their mythology as they went on too. They involved like the alien universe and stuff like that. I mean, some cool stuff. Very simple and basic, but I don't know. That's an interesting point of contention there.
What I remember, that was the very best thing in Predator 2 was that shot where he has the alien skull in his trophy room.
Right. What did you see the other later films?
That's one shot. No, the Alien versus Predator, no.
Yeah, actually, the first Alien versus Predator movie is not that bad. It has a slow start.
I love it.
But it gets really cool. Yeah, I may have not seen the more recent one.
Oh, that one was horrible.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
But the first one,
yeah, I liked
it.
it.
If you're
a lot of
such a
fun.
big fan of the Predator franchise, why haven't you seen it?
I'm not saying the biggest fan.
Such a great creature.
Wow.
Some people have to work for a living.
Hey, I have to catch up on because I was busy watching Night of the Lepus.
Yeah.
That's why.
I
for
can't
the
take
10th
it. Oh
time.
my god!
Have you seen Lepus versus Giant Spider? that franchise.
Well, I can see
man.
we're just
The
digressing.
third one was pretty good. But
Can I need to introduce this monster in quotes before we wrap this whole thing up, and that is, I believe it's House of Dracula, the female hunchback nurse.
That's a
is she really a monster though?
She was listed as one of
That's
the monsters.
true. You're right. The Hunchback.
Yeah,
you're right.
You know
she
what?
was.
And I remember I felt so sorry
She was
for
kind
her.
of she was kind of attractive.
Yeah, she was kind of attractive.
Yeah,
and she has like
hunchback.
She has like a tragic end.
Yeah, she
too.
does. You're right.
Yeah.
And
But no, you
it
felt
made me
bad
feel
for her.
very sorry for her.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
And
Are you
that's
saying that that's a worse monster?
That's a terrible. It's a great character, but it's a horrible monster.
Yeah,
It's
she
a
shouldn't have been
horrible
billed as a
label
monster.
For a monster who's
Yeah,
really
you're
someone
right.
who's just got a handicap.
Well, that's like saying the Mad Doctor is also a monster.
Well, or like Rondo Hatton. You could
Yeah.
also argue is like
yeah,
that's
Rondo Hatton's an interesting character though, and he kind of made a decent monster though. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, you're right. You're actually you're treating a real life affliction.
yeah. It's like getting
of
someone with
somebody.
leprosy and going, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?
Scary. Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Which has,
You have hideous acne."
yeah, well,
Yeah.
well, stuff like that has been done. You know.
Yeah.
And,
Well, yeah.
go ahead.
Speaking of which, kind of another movie that kind of did that a little bit, which actually I considered a scary movie too, is The Sentinel.
Yeah.
The Sentinel, which is kind of like this brownstone apartment in New York, is actually the doorway to hell, and this woman lives there.
course.
You know, and anyway, the movie involves like these kind of denizens of hell, kind of like coming forth at the end of the movie, and they used real freaks. They used kind of a combination of
deformed
freaks,
people,
deformed
for the most
people,
part.
and people in makeup, and it was kind of exploitive.
Big
well,
time
well,
exploitive.
Well,
But then you
freaks.
look at freaks.
How about
Yeah,
freaks?
yeah, yeah. Or you look at the Freak Maker, AKA The Mutations, another movie that totally explains.
With my hero Tom Baker.
We could do a whole show on
that's
freaks.
a completely different show.
Are,
but
are they
back
worse
to,
monsters or
yes.
good monsters?
But see, that's just it. Getting back to worse monsters,
Yeah.
where it's something that you expect to be really cool, and you're just totally let down because of what.
That's
the
kind of
monster
how I
here, let's do a final roundup here. You got anybody
Okay.
else? Got anything else you want to throw out there before
Well,
we
just the
wrap this up? The alligator people? Anyone?
I do, but I admit it's goofy, but it's kind of cool at the same time.
I agree with
I'll
Sean.
throw you out one: the Navy versus the Night Monsters. 60s, Mamie Van Doren, Killer Plant movie. Day of the Triffids. This is not. It was because
I like
they're kind of like
Triffids.
they're kind of
Triffids are
like
cool.
literally about 5 foot tall tree stumps that shoot acid, and they're the goofiest thing you've ever seen. Great movie though, but worst monster definitely.
I got one. I want to leave you with. What did the mushroom person say when everyone ran away from him?
Yes?
Why did everybody leave? I'm a fun guy.
Oh.
And with that, folks,
And we're off the air.
Good God.
Larry?
Make it
Larry,
end.
save this, please.
All I want to say is, just night.
none of the Lepus.
One of the worst monsters.
Available now on
as
DVD
cute and as adorable
download.
as they are one of the worst monsters ever.
Okay, and
I
I'm
agree.
gonna throw my last one in here, which is the Carrot Man from Lost in Space.
Oh yeah,
which I believe was the last episode of Lost in Space,
was it
right?
really?
Or either
I'd say
last or
half the monsters on that series could qualify for worst.
No, the
monster.
carrot
Carrot Man.
one was
But
pretty
yeah.
bad.
When you
Last
get-
episode, they were probably like, "What the hell? Let's just do something crazy."
Yeah,
yeah, we've never. How can we outbat ourselves?
yeah, right.
Let's throw a carrot costume on. this guy.
That's pretty bad, man.
Yeah, that's almost
I
like
agree.
having like a guy in a tooth costume. You know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
we had this on loan from the dentist's office. Why not?
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this.
Wow.
Yeah, this is
Worst
a
monsters.
yeah.
I think
Now
you've
this-
learned. I
I-
think this is very informative though for
This
the
was-
uninitiated. You've learned a lot.
This was
If you
painful.
listen to this.
I have
Yeah.
to relive
Yes.
Night of the Lepus.
Yeah, a lot of
over and over.
new animosities have been created tonight.
Yeah. And if those listening have their own ideas of worst monsters, then contact us. We'd like
Contact
to know.
us.
Yes.
I'd
Yeah.
like
Please,
to know.
somehow. Just contact us.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes, YouTube.
Contact us through
podcast.
YouTube.
Come to our door.
We
whatever
do
you
have
to do.
some really cool episodes up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So you should
Check
check
'em
out
out.
Monster
Check 'em out.
Party.
Why
It
not?
would be pretty cool.
Come on.
But until
Don't
then,
be a pussy. Come on. Check them out.
keep America strong, everyone.
Right.
Watch horror films.
Horror films.
Bye, everybody.